Alright friends, how are you today? Aaron here in Detroit's downtown Eastern Market with little Miss Aretha Franklin behind me there. Hopefully you can hear me alright, see me alright. Talking about the new moon in the sign of Leo. Alright, a very, very important new moon. If you watched on the monthly horoscopes, I talked about, even last month I talked about how the month of August was arguably one of my favorite months of the year. And the Leo new moon, this particular year, is extremely, extremely important for us. We've been going through so much growth, so much change. The nodes have moved. The North Node is now in the sign of Gemini. So there's, there's two ways to look at everything, right? Two ways, light shadow side and a bright side to see everything, right? One of these things, let's look at it like this. For one, the new moon, we don't see the moon, right? It's a time of reflection of what we're gearing up towards. Where we see the full moon, the full illumination, something is directly in front of us. It's opposing us. It's directly in our faces and we know exactly what it is. Where new moons are more going internal and deciding what we need for the next couple of weeks ahead. All right? And for us, where we're at right now, is we need to play. We need to play, we need to go have fun, we need to get outside, we need to spark the joy in our own lives, of life itself. No matter what is going on in our lives, the point is we have to live and to not blame. That's one of the biggest things right now is just to take responsibility, self-sufficiency, right? We have this new moon's creating a trine to Mars and to Eris. All right, so Mars is about action. In the sign of Aries is about self. I'm self-active. I'm self-motivated, a self-motivated individual. I don't have to wait for somebody else to tell me what to do or to say to do something, right? This is saying, like, look, we have this grand fire trine going on right now. We got the moon, sun in the sign of Leo, Mercury only 2 degrees off in the sign of Leo, little stellium going on. We got a stellium happening over there in Aries with Chiron, with Eris, with Mars. Okay, all of these saying be self-sufficient, be the one to start the fire. And this energy over here in Leo is saying keep it going, keep it. You're strong enough to keep it going. And I think that's part of this message that is really big. It's not just for like the next 2 weeks, but for the rest of this year. That we have to keep our fire sustained. We're gonna hit a Mars retrograde here. Mars retrogrades are very difficult. Mars retrogrades are very difficult because we don't want to move. We don't have the energy. Our planet of action is going nowhere. It's moving backwards. So we feel, look at that little man in the city. See him there? Doop. Anyway, there's no motive. There's a lack of motivation. So we don't know what to do. So while we have this energy of the Leo fire, right? We got to harness this energy. We got to hold on to it. We got to grab this moment. Carpe diem. Seize this day, seize this moment, seize this energy. Okay, we have to remember what this energy feels like. What does it feel like to go play? What does it feel like to wake up excited for life? What does it to feel to wake up like? Remember when you had what is it like? Field trip day. When you had a field trip day or something, and you're so excited. You're up before the alarm went off. It wasn't like, oh, another day at school, right? You were excited to get up and go play, excited to go do something. So part of us is remembering to have fun, to get up and go play. Now the other side of this, well, there's a few sides. The connection to the South Node, the other side of this fire trine, is release. What kind of stuff are we holding on to, especially mentally? The things that we put in our heads of us not being good enough, not being smart enough, not being whatever enough. Okay, the South Node in the sign of Sagittarius, the philosopher, about information, about knowledge, worldly knowledge. Again, this can be also as what do we hold that we as beauty is symmetry. Okay, so we can just look at something and say that's beautiful. Okay, well this is a worldly perspective. But what we find beautiful right now, Venus is down there in emotional sign of Cancer. So is it the physical aspects of beauty that we're finding attractive right now? No, it's not. It's more dealing with emotions. Are we valuing our emotions? Are we valuing ourselves? And further, look how cool this one is. So much cool art in this city. Too distracting for this astrology show. Valuing our emotions, valuing ourselves, reminding ourselves if we're individuals that are in the single territory. This is a lot about self-love. Regardless if you're in a relationship or if you're single, this is about self-love. And oftentimes we want to take care of our partners or other people in our lives almost in a better sense of taking care of ourselves. It's easier to forgive other people than sometimes it is to forgive ourselves. So this is reminding us to take care of ourselves, to draw that bubble bath, to light the candles, to do whatever, just to treat yourself, to pamper yourself and love yourself, right? Now here, with this North Node being in the sign of Gemini, this is an important part. I'm going to walk back this way. We're going to walk back this way for this important detail. The North Node in Gemini is about views. It's about, I hope this isn't too distracting. Let me just sit for a second. North Node in Gemini, concerning all of this new moon, all right, with this fire trine happening, all this energy that's going on, the North Node in Gemini, we can look at this in a couple ways, all right? There's a couple ways. It's a perfect analogy. There's two ways to look at everything. Now, you look at someone like Al Capone. Now, the history books have Al Capone written as a bad guy. He was a gangster. He was a thief, a robber, a gangster. But according to Al Capone and his people, if you read on his side of the story, it was the government that was the bad. It was the cities. It was the rules that were implied in that were taking advantage of good, hardworking American people. And Al Capone was here to even out the playing field. He was the modern Robin Hood, steal from the rich and give to the poor. So in Al Capone's brain, and to the people that loved Al Capone, he was a hero. There's no question about it. But the history books don't necessarily have Al Capone written as a hero. And it kind of doesn't matter, because it's like you got to do what you got to do. No, that doesn't sound right. I want to put this in a positive way. Not you got to do what you got to do, but the fire of Leo is about being self. Okay, and this idea that not everyone is going to see it. Okay, now some people like Abraham Hicks preach on. I talk about Abraham quite a bit here in the Law of Attraction. Abraham touches on self-love quite a bit. And she often gets in trouble for saying, well, Abraham, you're teaching about selfishness. And she says, yes, I absolutely am, So sometimes self-care to other person's perspective can be selfishness. Sometimes self-care can be, you're not paying enough attention to me, what about me? And that's not always the case, right? It's just because you're taking care of yourself doesn't mean you're neglecting somebody else. So we have to get away from this concept, I suppose, of allowing the world, or however the history books want to write something, to be the final. Maybe Al Capone was the hero. Maybe the history books have it wrong. It's not really up for me to say, oddly enough. Well, you know what I'm saying. But we write our own story. Sometimes we do something out of good, and somebody wants to take it into a negative light. We can't help how somebody else controls that. It's not up to us to determine how someone else interprets us. It's not up to us to determine how someone else interprets us, right? So whether we're the hero or the villain in the story, we're always going to be the hero in our own story. It's important during these times to look at our own actions, especially with Mars conjunct Eris. Where in my own actions have I said something? Have I responded out of anger, responded out of hostility, instead of responding out of love, care, nurture, empathy? Okay, this is something that Venus is reminding us of right now, to constantly value the love, the care, the empathy, right? And it is absolutely Mercury and the moon and the sun's job right now is to get us in a good place of freedom, playful freedom, right? Look at this. Where is the sun? No, it's dying down somewhere over there. But it never stops dimming for anyone. Never stops dimming its light for anything. Its job is to be the bright sun that it is. Ruled by Leo. So the moon, the sun, this new beginning in the sign of Leo. Mercury, our mental awareness, our mental capacity in the sign of Leo. Right? Yes, I can. The pride of the lion. The pride of the lion. The leadership qualities. I'm sorry, I'm right off the expressway. Noisy truck. And like we talked about on Monday's horoscope, it's about persistency, right? Persistency. It's chasing it down, and it's attack, and it's getting it. Whatever we're going after, we're getting it. So we're sparking the match, this bit of Aries, Mars and Aries, we're sparking the match, and we're sustaining, we're finishing it. We're seeing whatever through, right? Whatever is going on in our lives, we're seeing it through. And saying yes. Yes. Writing our own story. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what other people think of our story, of what others have going on, or the opinions that are shared by others. We have to do us. We have to do what is necessary in our life right now to lift us up, to bring us up, to lift our spirits, to be the cheerleader of our own team, to get us wherever we got to go. And obviously the most ethical, compassionate, and caring way. Morals are important here when I say do whatever is necessary. But I think you know what I mean when I say that, in a positive sense. We got to do whatever is necessary for us to get out of whatever gutter, pull our heads out of the sand that we've been in, you know, and again, be that cheerleader. Yes, we can. Whatever is coming my way, I can handle it. Whatever, you know, concept I've created, there are the ideas, you know, again, these fire trines is conceptualizing, right? It's forging the material of our tools, forging the sword or the hammer or whatever tools that we need for this next chapter when the moon's going to move into Virgo, solidify all this earth energy, right? So, it's about being playful, it's about having fun, it's about believing in yourself, it's about a new opportunity, a new way of looking at things, not caring in the most respectable way of possible, not caring what other people's opinions of you are, right? And knowing and believing in ourselves that yes, we can, no matter what, we're going to rise up to the challenge. And we're going to sustain that Leo, fire, lion energy over the next 2 weeks, over the next 6 months of this year. We're going to have to keep reminding ourselves of this energy once this Mars retrograde happens. We're going to have to remind ourselves constantly, yes, we are good enough. Yes, we can. Yes, I'm worthy of going and playing. Yes, I can go have a fun time. And life is joyous. And it's all in the eye of the beholder and how we make it, right? So have a beautiful day, friends. Happy Leo new moon. We'll see you tomorrow.